Good morning to the honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martinga Radio, 107.9 FM, and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Please note, Minister Otley will not be available for any questions and answers as he will be leaving right after his opening statements. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Blessed day to the media, my honorable colleagues. I'd like to start today. As of September 21st, CPS has reported 4,146 confirmed cases of COVID-19 since its first launch in St. Martin. We are averaging 15 to 20 cases per day. We are seeing a decrease in the numbers, and I am happy for this. I ask everyone to continue to follow protocols, continue to maintain social distances, wear your mask, and those who are interested in being vaccinated, I urge you to do so. This Saturday, September 25th, there will be a pop-up at the with collaboration with the SMMC. At this pop-up, we will be doing screening on your blood type, blood pressure, screening for prostate. It's a health seminar. We invite everyone to come out. The last pop-up, we had persons that believe in whether it's bush therapy, believe in vitamins, natural remedies for building your immune system. You see, this COVID-19 fight is a fight that we have to do together. Together. I have no time for distractions. I have no time for games. I have no time for people that are looking for rivalry. That's not what it's about. People are dying. Reality. Every day, people are dying. And it may seem like nothing because it don't hit home to some of us, but guess what? Those people have families. Those people have kids, mothers, fathers, brothers. So while it seemed like nothing to you, this is serious. I give you a statistic. For the month of August, SMMC have had 54 admissions due to COVID-19. 9 were vaccinated. 13 deaths at the SMMC, and 1 was fully vaccinated with serious underlying symptoms. Out of 54, 9 were hospitalized. That's a 15 to 16% ratio. So many people are asking, I saw a question, what are we going to do different? How are we going to change the game for the vaccination drive? Persons are not coming out, what are we going to do? I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing. I have been doing all that I can. CPS, VMT, and the government are doing all that they can. Who don't want to get vaccinated, then that's on you. At some point, the responsibility points back to the people. So some of my colleagues may be saying, what are you saying right now? And that's okay. But I know that we have done all that we have done. I have done all that I have done, I can do, and I will continue to do all that I can do. But I'm not changing the game. The numbers speak for itself. The deaths speak for itself. And while we do acknowledge natural immunity from recoveries, it's the effects that you can face by having COVID. It's those persons that survive but have heart issues, lung issues. Because of COVID-19, they now have to live on dialysis. Those are the persons we need to look at. Those are the persons we need to talk to. In the COVID experience, the Share My COVID experience done by Public Health and DGOM, there was a gentleman that can no longer use his arm. He survived, but he can no longer use his arm. So I'm telling you, this is serious. The numbers are there. I'm not talking myth. I'm talking numbers. 1 person that is fully vaccinated has passed due to COVID-19. So you do the math from here, out of 59 persons. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning to you and Ms. Roach and the members of DCOM. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the media and the people of St. Martin. A blessed day to you. Yesterday, the Division of Public Education, after consultation with stakeholders, took the step of moving to remote learning after there were 3 persons confirmed with cases of COVID-19 among the St. Martin Vocational Training School management team. There are currently 3 other members of the staff that are awaiting results. These persons are also exhibiting symptoms consistent with COVID-19 infection. The remote learning for St. Martin Vocational Training School will continue until October 1st, after which the school will go into midterm break, and in-person learning, so face-to-face learning, will resume after the midterm break on Tuesday, October 12th. We know that midterm break starts on the 1st of October until the 12th of October. So the 14 days runs into the midterm break. Secondly, the government of St. Martin, through the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports, is committed to the integration of ICT in education on St. Martin. This plan outlines the framework to support the continuity of education for all students, which may occur due to school closures due to COVID-19 pandemic. One of the key areas in the plan is to purchase IT devices for students and teachers, those not in possession of a device, to engage and facilitate with virtual learning due to school closures. 706 laptops will be purchased for students not in possession of a device enrolled in public and government-subsidized schools, and 181 laptops will be purchased for the management team and teachers and support staff of the public schools. The bidding process will soon be launched. As soon as the documents are ready to be distributed, this information will be shared via the Government Information Service and also the social media pages. We encourage all companies interested in participating in this bidding process to look out for the information when the terms of reference documents will be made available. I will await any questions.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. I would like to inform members of the media, Minister Samuel is also the acting Minister of Justice, but asks that any questions be sent in writing to the Minister's Cabinet. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, Rolika, and members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today I have a few brief updates for you. We're going to touch on the streetlight projects. In collaboration with GEBE, several streetlights have been outfitted. The following streets will be connected to the streetlights grid in the coming days, beginning tonight. The first one is Watling Island Road, Madam Estate, 6 lights. Paradise Island Road, Madam Estate, 10 lights. Madam Estate Drive, 10 lights. Thanksgiving Cactus Drive in Sucker Garden, 14. Pincushion Cactus Drive in Sucker Garden, 14. Rubber Tree Drive in Cold Bay, 12. St. John Estate, 4 lights. There are also other districts that will be coming online in the near future, and I look forward to updating the public on that as well, because the list doesn't stop here. Other areas are being identified for a second round of streetlight, and I would also like to especially thank the team of GEBE for their dedication in executing this project. Next point I would like to touch on is the fast tracking of building permits. In May of 2020, I announced that a task force to speed up the processing of building permits aimed at lowering the existing backlog. The task force consisted of additional temporary technical assistance from the pool of existing VROMI personnel, This project achieved positive results. However, the additional personnel has since returned to their respective departments to perform their main duties. Fast forwarding to today, together with the Department of Permits, I have been looking into implementing a faster building permit process, which will heavily depend on the quality of the submitted work from the contractors, whereby checks are performed on adherence to the policies and laws on building. A big challenge is that St. Martin does not currently have a registry of architects and engineers which are recognized by government. The lack of this registry causes many submitted work that needs to undergo corrections. Correction letters are sent by the department to the building permit applicants. This causes much delay in the process of approving the building permits. The permit application that will benefit from the fast track process will be checked for any needed corrections. If no corrections are needed, they will be pulled from the regular queue of building permit applications to be finalized within a number of weeks. In essence, the poor architectural work of some applications will no longer slow down the work of those applications that are fully in compliance with our laws. A first selection has been made to test the new process and is expected to be approved before the end of the week. And this is definitely a project that we will be conducting for the next 3 months to see how we can benefit from this and how the general public can benefit from this. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of touring the tallest building on the island. The developers of the tallest building and the newest landmark, I would say, in St. Martin, has completed the first of 2 tower buildings. During an invited tour, I was able to see the benefits of going upwards for myself. I was impressed by the small footprint of the building. Each tower would be around 500 square meters and house 174 units in total. With little space left on St. Martin, this footprint unit ratio is something that will be able to solve our housing needs in the near future. I definitely believe this is the way to go. Lastly, I would like to urge the general public to pay attention to the developing weather conditions that might be coming up in the coming days. Try to clean up your yards, clear any drainage that you might have to avoid any flooding, and monitor the daily updates that will be coming out from our Met office. In closing, I would like to say to the people of St. Martin that there are a lot of distractions out there trying to deter progress in this country. However, I will not be deterred or fazed by such, and I will continue to work in the best interest of the people and put my best foot forward in accomplishing the goals. At the end of the day, I believe that the oath that I took for sure, I could speak for myself, means a lot to me, and I want to be able to serve in the best capacity that I can serve as Minister of Rummy, which is looking out for the well-being of the people of St. Martin. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions members of the media might have. Thank you, Relika.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relika. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. I'd first like to start off with the commencing of the payments of the income and unemployment support part of SRP, which we started yesterday already, actually, and will continue today and the rest of the week. We already discussed the delays in the past. I'm happy to know that we have started, and SCMDF are doing their best to get all the payments out as quickly as possible. So that will be the payments for July and August. After these payments have been processed, the payments for September will start. The closing date for September was September 15th, so all of that information has already been processed. So the payments for September will start more than likely at the end of the month. In regards to I see a little confusion over the last week, especially over the weekend, in regards to the proposed recommendations in regards to taxes. The two that was the most shared, I would say, in the media was the 7.5% and the abolishing of the exemption for the casinos. Especially with the latter, I realized persons were a little confused. They were under the assumption that the recommendation was to exempt casinos for TOT. And it was exactly the opposite. The recommendation was to abolish the exemption that they currently have. So again, I want to clarify that again. It's not that we were exempting casinos for TOT. It was to abolish the exemption that they currently have. And in regards to the tax recommendations proposed in general, that's exactly what they were. They were recommendations partially given by the Fiscal Affairs Department of the IMF. These were proposals and recommendations that I presented in Parliament for further discussions. As I've already said, the tax reform is very broad-based, it's long. It also will include consultations with private and public stakeholders, campaigning with the public. So it's not a final decision. It's actually recommendations that were brought to Parliament. Parliament will obviously have the last say. Matter of fact, they will have further meetings on this in their finance meetings to discuss the taxes that they see being able to be implemented and moving forward after our final list of possible recommendations. That'll be all today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relika. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the members of the media present, Relika, and also the other members of DCOM making this broadcast possible. Of course, a pleasant good morning to the people of St. Martin. Thank you for joining us. Sorry. I'd like to take a few moments to congratulate the people and government of Aruba. The waiver Cruz 2 cabinet was sworn in yesterday, and on behalf of St. Martin's government, we wish them much success in their new governing term. Yesterday, also September 21st, Credit St. Martin launched their Small Business Academy with its first 15 students. I don't know how many were following the last interviews that I did with Mr. Edsel Gums, who is the director there of the St. Martin team, but seeing the enterprise support program, which is being funded via the trust fund, which gives grants and loans for entrepreneurs and is a great opportunity for them to be able to get into business or innovate current businesses. In fact, with this government insisting that new businesses get the opportunity, a lot of, let's say, challenges that these small business entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs face in being able to secure the loans have been identified by Credits, and as such, they've established this academy, which is aimed at better preparing them to be able to start up in a sustainable manner and manage it throughout to ensure a better success. So I congratulate them on that endeavor. And as they've had over 60 applicants for this program, they will also run further programs in the weeks to come. This program will last 10 weeks, and we look forward to hearing of the great success stories in gaining entrepreneurial skills and building resilience business for St. Martin, for our locals especially. I'd like to also update that this week, the Kingdom Council of Ministers will meet on Friday, September 24th, and our country packages will be deliberated on, and once politically approved, the signing and the establishment of the Q4 implementation agenda can be regulated at a date on or before October 1st. In my recent meeting in Parliament, last week on September 15th, I presented St. Martin's vision in terms of priorities for the Sustainable Development Goals, where they fall within our national vision and the governing program, and which ministries were dealing with the execution thereof. Parliament has requested further information and will be then getting in contact with the relevant ministries for such. But this week, in fact, also on Friday, September 24th, is the annual day of the SDGs. So the SDG flag will be raised right here at the Government Administration Building and throughout the Kingdom of the Netherlands. As such, a small ceremony is being organized and will highlight SDG 3, climate action, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and SDG 14, Life Below Land. So that would be, of course, under the sea. The ceremony will be live streamed via the Government of St. Martin Facebook page. Also, in an update, the Integrity Chamber annual report, as is submitted to the Council of Ministers, is then also forwarded via our Minister Plenipotentiary, Minister Rene Vailinas, to be handled or forwarded to the Kingdom Council of Ministers as per the provisions outlined in the National Ordnance Integrity Chamber. We were also, as government, able to receive the annual financial report from the St. Martin Development Fund regarding their financial overview of the over 25 projects and programs that they are currently aiding government with the execution of, and this was throughout the year of 2020. I'd like to commend them and applaud them for a job well done. That is the young management of the St. Martin Development Fund, led by Ms. Makisha Brooks, and with the good job they're doing in terms of the financing that they are disseminating on our behalf and the assistance with the programs on government's behalf as well. Yesterday also marked European Cooperation Day. It's celebrated throughout Europe, and as you know, for St. Martin, it is in terms of joint programs and projects, and we have been part of that, where climate change and marine biodiversity is concerned. St. Martin Saint-Martin is unique as an extension. We are part of the EU through the Netherlands and France, and both sides benefit from EU cooperation funding for such projects. A staple project is the initiative of developing a technical platform between St. Martin and Saint-Martin. That platform will then better collaborate for any types of joint projects. The 11th EDF is in development, and we also this platform will allow for a joined up approach to shared challenges that we both have in North and South St. Martin. So it is actually a good step towards the one island, one people, one destiny, as our famous Lino and the Hard Way has always sung. Also, to update the people of St. Martin and the media, the 76th UNGA is ongoing this week. And though it had been planned just as last year to be a virtual one, some of the meetings are taking place in person or partially in person. And the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, who always speaks on behalf of the kingdom, will be traveling for this purpose. I do believe that an erroneous message was sent out that all the prime ministers were traveling. That will not be the case. Thus far, I believe only Aruba has decided to also travel, as she has other appointments as well. I was scheduled to speak yesterday at one of the side events at the UNGA. However, this did not take place as was planned. However, our support staff was able to sit in on the meeting. There is also a bilateral meeting plan, which would take place between the Kingdom and the Secretary General, and I'm still awaiting the logistics for our participation in that, as it was intended to be a virtual one. I am, however, taking part this evening in a panel discussion which was organized by Nigel, Selena, and the Global Business Leadership Forum to coincide with the UNGA. They are hosting world leaders from Latin America, Africa, and the Caribbean for a private event themed economic recovery and restructuring in emerging economies and the integral role of energy and infrastructure development, with an eye toward planning for post-COVID recovery. This will be also a virtual event, and I'm scheduled to be signing into that at 5:30 this afternoon. So we will stream it as much as possible via our pages as well. If not, we will post the site where persons will be able to follow. As Minister Doran mentioned, we are in the hurricane season, and I've been receiving many messages of a storm that is out there brewing that is possible to be within our area in a week's time. So the people of St. Martin, we have been weekly stating to remain vigilant, to continue to monitor all storms, of course, via our channels. The EOC will, of course, continue to their planning and preparation. And should the storm pose an imminent threat, we will be then, of course, making those statements as the week continues. So continue to monitor. Government will continue to do its part together with our Emergency Operations Center to ensure that the people are prepared and that we are prepared to handle whatever may come our way. We, of course, pray that it will be diverted as all the others have thus far, and that as people of St. Martin, whatever the case is, we remain vigilant and prepared. I believe the minister has already mentioned also, VSA, all that needs to be said regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. He is currently in a PAHO conference virtually for the entire week as well. And so we wish the Ministry of VSA and the minister much strength as we move forward, as well as all those families who are still basically feeling the after effects of this COVID-19 vaccine. It is not a joke. The government of St. Martin encourages you to get vaccinated. Thank you, Rolika. Thank you to the media, and I await any questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 21st, 2021. September 22nd, 2021. My apologies. At this time, I would like to invite Bibi Hart Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Rolika. Thank you. Good morning, ministers, colleagues. Minister Doran, I want to address at least two parts, if you can allow me a two-part question. Since we're talking about the hurricane or the possible hurricane that may hit our island next week, can you give us an update on shelters and if they are properly equipped to handle, people that may need shelters? Minister, I also want to ask you, because you mentioned something about all the distractions, and of course there is a lot of distraction. Today we are talking about the situation at Vineyard Heights. What I want to ask you, Minister, in 2012, if my memory serves me correct, there was a systemic investigation done by the former ombudsman, Madam Lynch. That report was submitted to the Minister of Romy in order for changes to be made at the Cadastre office. I think that ombudsman had given the minister 1 month to implement changes. So things that is happening now with Vineyard Heights would have not taken place. Can you tell me if you looked into that and if any changes at all was made based on the recommendation of the systemic investigation and subsequent report?
Thank you, Ms. Hodge, for your question. In regards to the first point concerning the shelters, I believe I mentioned several times that the shelters were ready and well equipped and good to go. The Ministry of Romy is responsible for the integrity of the structures. The Ministry of VSR manages the entire operation in respect to taking in clients and so forth and taking care of them from a social aspect. So indeed, yes, the shelters are ready and good to go. God forbid we are struck by any sort of hurricane or natural disaster. On your second point regarding the 2012 Ombudsman Cadastre Systemic Investigation, in 2012, I think I was just about starting my last 2 years of college. This is news to me. I would look into it, of course, and give those responses. In regards to your question with what would have been avoided and the distractions, indeed, I want to make note of the fact that a lot of these things are not new to the persons that are asking or inquiring. So it's very surprising to me to see the questions that are being posed. Nevertheless, as I mentioned several times, as minister now, I take full responsibility for the office. So therefore, not full responsibility for any wrongdoing that might have occurred. So I want to clear that up. I take full responsibility as Minister of Romy in finding out what is going on. And I myself am going to initiate a systemic investigation and involve all the relevant stakeholders to find out indeed from the beginning, 2012, 2013, in particular for this project, I think it started based on what we can find from 2014, come up to 2018 with all the confusion that is out there, and really bring clarity to the people of St. Martin as to what is going on. I hope that answers your question, and I will indeed look into those points and respond in a proper manner as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi, for the questions. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you. Blessed day to everyone. I would like to ask a question to both Mr. Irion and Mr. Doran. It concerns a ministerial decree from July 3rd last year. That is a ministerial decree from Minister Doran. And it says that in case land is issued to a member of your family, that Mr. Irion is willing to sign off on that to avoid conflict of interest. When you look at the list of the 25 beneficiaries, the latest list for Vineyard Heights, if our information is correct, there is at least one family member of yours on that list, on the 25. And there's would also be someone that is working in the Ombudsman office. My question to Minister Irion, did you sign off of the issuing of that land to members of the family of Minister Doran?
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman, for your question. I think you didn't read the ministerial decree correctly because you mentioned that Minister Irion is willing. I think you should expound on it and explain it better. It mentions that the Minister of Finance is responsible for the collection of FPAC. I remember
Sorry, can I read it to you?
the whole decree. You could
No,
read the
it's
ministerial
here.
decree.
It's here in the second line that the Minister of Finance heeft aangegeven bereid te zijn to sign off. So it says that the Minister of Finance has
No, but
has
I mentioned
indicated
to
be
read the
willing.
entire thing for clarity's sake.
Okay, I will read it. In overweging genomen hebbende dat het wenselijk is dat de minister van Volkshuisvesting, Ruimtelijke Ordening, Milieu en Infrastructuur zich onthoudt van uitgifte van gronden in erfpacht, indien deze uitgifte de belangen raken van de echtgenote of partner, zijn bloed- of aanverwanten tot en met de derde graad. Het tweede gedeelte is dat de minister van Financiën heeft aangegeven bereid te zijn, indien er sprake is van het bovengenoemd geval, gronden namens de minister van Vromi in erfpacht uit te geven.
Clear, exactly. So that's good that the public get the entire picture. Your question is, once it's a conflict of interest, and I'll go back to when I was Minister of Justice, I was faced with a situation where I had to sign a document, and the person was a direct family member. I then went to the acting Minister of Justice, and they peruse it and sign it. It is normal. Before every council of ministers meeting, the question is posed from the chair, whether it's PM is chairing or if PM is not there, I am chairing. Are there any conflicts of interest? If this is the case, then the minister that has a conflict of interest has to step out the room. So therefore, if there is a conflict of interest, the acting minister or the council of ministers then makes a decision or makes an approval and or decision.
I understand, but on the list of the 25 beneficiaries, the new...
So if on the list of the 25 best beneficiaries, there was a conflict of interest for me, the Minister of Finance, which is the acting minister of Vromi, had to sign it.
But did Mr. Irion sign?
Then you have to ask Minister Irion, but I'm just explaining.
I was asking Mr.
Okay,
Irion.
all right.
Mr. Irion, did you sign off on that?
I'll have to confirm, but I know if there was a conflict of interest, yes, because I've signed off a few of those in I think the last 2 years, 1 or 2. Then yes, once it's a conflict of interest, I do sign. I don't have recollection of the whole list, but there is a possibility, yes.
Thank you, Minister Irion. Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Jacqueline, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Excellencies, good morning. My question is for the Minister of Education, but prior, I need a clarification from the Minister of Romi. He said he had the opportunity to tour one of the tallest buildings yesterday. Where exactly is that building located? And my question is for the Minister of Education. As it pertains to the giving away or donating the 750 laptops to students, what method will be used to ensure that the right students receive those equipment?
Thank you, Mr. Cerulean, for your question. The tallest building on the Dutch side at the moment is you call it the Twin Towers. It was never referred to as that are being constructed in the Kupuka area, close to Molle Bay. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those towers. So that is the building that I was able to tour yesterday. So building 1 is semi-completed, and building 2 is going up at the moment. And as I mentioned, it is definitely a great thing for the country because here you have 500 square meter footprint, which is able to house 174 units. So I'm thinking that we can use similar examples in solving our housing issue that we have on the island, especially given our limited space. So that is a discussion that is ongoing within the departments right now to see how we can tweak a bit for different areas to be able to solve our housing problem that we have right now. Thank you. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Cerulean, for the question posed. Indeed, if the government says they have laptops, then everyone paying taxes would say, yes, I am entitled because I am paying taxes. The method used to assess whether or not a child needs a laptop, it goes via the management of the school, via the teacher of the student, and then the teacher who is busy with the students would know exactly which students have and doesn't have. And this is the best way to go about assessing who will get and who won't get.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. This question statement is between the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Romy. Minister, according to statement, 25 out of 1. Most people and St. Martin are family. Now, it can be unfortunate that if it's your family, why they are not entitled to get land. I find it is kind of unfortunate because every time, ministers, there are land problems, even before your time, ministers, there's land problems. So the question is, 1 out of 25, why not? And again, so everybody who is your family, and St. Martin, most of St. Martin are family. So when is your family, what are you gonna do? Say, no, this is conflict of interest, you're not entitled for St. Martin land? It's unfortunate. So I'm asking the ministers, please make it plain and straight because did you guys commit a crime?
Thank you, Lyndon. Minister
Thank you for your
Edian.
question. Yes. You want to answer?
Thank you for your question, Lyndon. Indeed, as you know, I come from a very large family, like the York, Illich, Cox, Flanders, Duzang, and it continues. No offense to anyone that I might have forgotten. And indeed, things like this and the decree that Ms. Hoffman read off was created to avoid these things. So therefore, technically speaking, it is based on the law. I can issue it. I can sign it myself based on how the law is. So in order to avoid those things and work correct, this was done to avoid these things. So therefore, indeed, as you mentioned, there's no crime, nothing was done. It's a simple way to avoid any sort of conflict of interest. Because then you will not be able to function. I mean, we're on 16 square miles, and you have a council of ministers, and definitely a meeting or something would come up that would affect somebody directly or indirectly. So we put all these mechanisms are in place to avoid such. So I hope that clarifies, because the way, that's why I asked you, Ms. Hoffman, to read it out fully, because the way you brought it across, anybody that's tuned in might misinterpret or misunderstand what you're saying. So I'm glad that you read it out clearly. And yeah, at the end of the day, at the end of the day,
Ms. Hoffman, Minister is responding.
at the end of the day, indeed, we are a small community and conflict of interest might arise, and this is the reason why we have these things in place. So,
Thank you, Minister Duran. Minister Edian.
Yes, and for the record, I just had to confirm with staff that indeed there was a conflict of interest, and yes, I did sign it off. Just wanted to check the records first, and yes, that was a fact.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. We now move on to the second round of questions. Bibi Hadshaw, you have the floor.
Minister Doran, seemingly you're sitting in the hot seat, and of course you have a really nice portfolio covering a lot of stuff, most of which is happening at the same time. Parliament tomorrow, ERFPAC land. I want to ask you a question that may come up in Parliament. It may, like I said, I don't know. But you had put out, I think it's a slide it was, where you plan to do various projects. And for example, social homes by the old government building, post office, I believe that was said, and a new location for the Parliament building that St. Martin wants to build. Are you still going ahead with having social homes in the center of town, or will you have the new Parliament building, when constructed, by the old government building? If you can clarify what it was.
Thank you, Bibi, for your question. Again, I want to reiterate, I never mentioned social homes. I always mention quality, affordable homes. So it's a quick Google search, Minister Doran, and you'll find all the information. Regarding the Parliament building, I just want to separate the roles so everyone can understand. The Minister of Rum is responsible for ERFPAC land. The Minister of General Affairs is responsible for government assets via facilitatorzaken. The Minister of Finance is responsible for paying the rent. So in efforts to decrease the rent, increase our real estate, increase the rent, decrease the rent, increase our assets, we are looking for feasible ways to cut costs. I mean, we're in trying times. We see how much rent costs per month for all our different government offices. So therefore, I put out a presentation about quality, affordable homes. I also put a multi-level parking and also to house all the government entities, high councils of state. All of that was advertised, also with commercial space. So therefore, there was no discussion or ever any discussion of putting social homes in the heart of Phillipsburg. What was communicated to me by several MPs is that that is prime land. And that term, it's offensive to me, because if it's prime land and it's good enough, if it's not good enough for our people, then I'm not sure who it's good enough for. Prime land should be and always should remain for the people of St. Martin. So I hope I'm clear with that point. And if the question comes up in Parliament, I'll be more than happy to explain it. And this question has been coming up for a lot of months now, and it's as if some persons are trying to create a narrative of putting social homes in town that was never communicated by me. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Jacqueline. You have the floor.
Minister Duran, I understand clearly what you explained about the decree. The question is based on the issue of issuing land that was already given out or promised to other people. That is why I'm asking if there was a conflict of interest. And yesterday, there was a complaint filed by the at the Ombudsman concerning the issue with the social housing, HDF, where Mrs. Salomons said they had, through you, provided a request for 45 million for the repairs and building of social housing. And you replied on, in February, you knew that it was denied, and they heard that, or got the information through a letter of July 14th. Then she replied on August 16th, and there was no reply after, so they went to the Ombudsman. And you were giving time till a week from now to respond to that. So I would want to ask why there was no response to the letter from Mrs. Salomons. And also another question about social housing. If we're talking about, is there a threshold for people to live in social housing units? Because if you look at the list of tenants, there's a lot of people that are low income people that are living in social housing units. Can you explain how that works exactly?
I was trying to make note. I think there was about 3 or 4 questions. I hope I have all of them noted correctly. You mentioned that land that was promised. There's no such thing as promise. That's what caused the confusion, basically. It's either deeded or not deeded, and you cannot issue something that was already issued. And I'll delve into that tomorrow in Parliament so that you get all the information on that point, as well as all the documentation to explain everything. With regards to our threshold on social homes and persons that are not in social situations living in those homes, I'm not here to judge anyone. However, I am of the opinion, based on preliminary research, so not based on any sort of data, but just conversation and living here and growing up here, is that the problem is those persons that are above the social situation do not qualify for houses on our market. So therefore, projects like Vineyard Heights creates opportunities for those individuals that are middle class, if you want to call them that, to be able to afford homes there. So then you will create space for the persons that really need social housing. So it was sort of a domino effect. And that was, in essence, the thought process to address our housing crisis that we have on the island. Because if we had gone ahead or issued, let's just say, for instance, 50-something lots to individuals, then it's just build homes, and that would just be 50-something families. With the increase of opportunities that we created in this project, it's over 150-something, so 3 times the amount. So hopefully, in my opinion, someone that lives in Belvedere or lives in Hope Estate that can afford a mortgage to purchase one of those units would then move out, and then somebody else that really needs the unit would be able to acquire it. So that is basically the response, I hope. Yes, and regarding you mentioned a timeline, I would like to go over it myself to give you a more accurate response, whether I provide it in writing after the Council of Ministers press briefing or for next press briefing, whatever your preference is, and I'll have that done in regards to the Housing Development Foundation and the trajectory. And I also mentioned yesterday in an interview that if your finances are not up to par, it is very difficult for the NRPB, World Bank, or even government to pull a pie out of the sky and make the impossible possible. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Jacqueline, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. How many more questions will be allotted?
This will be the last round.
Thank you. Prime Minister, my question is for you. On November 3rd, the Parliament of St. Martin voted unanimously on the draft ordinance relating to the ban on single-use plastic bags. This has yet to be validated by the Council of Ministers. Why has that process taken so long, Prime Minister?
Good morning, Stephen. Indeed, upon investigation, this was asked in Parliament a couple of months ago, and the process is now at the Ministry of Justice to be finalized. When legislation is passed in Parliament, it comes back to be vetted. It usually goes through, especially if the process wasn't done prior. There are several legislations that have passed Parliament that have not been executed due to the fact that maybe not enough stakeholder participation took place. One of them is also the maternity or paternity law that was passed. Not enough consultation took place with SZV and others. So it makes it difficult to execute. With the garbage bags, I can tell you that as Minister of General Affairs, on the buck, we are busy with our Going Plastic Free by 2023 project. So it falls in line with the law and goes actually further than the law because we want to go totally plastic free, bring more awareness over this process to the people of St. Martin and what we can do in the interim, even while the law is being processed. So I believe the punitive action that needs to be regulated by the Ministry of Justice is being finalized, and we can send that in writing to the ministry due to the absence of the minister to see if we can get an update as to where it is. And the question that you asked, why it's taking that long? I can tell you in general, the perception that things are taking long within government is mainly due to, at times, having the right persons in the right places. And so you have sometimes the same people carrying a large load. And so therefore, things do fall through the cracks. However, I will be checking in to see exactly where that is. But government remains committed to bringing more awareness of our environment to the people of St. Martin. And we have been encouraging steadily to make use of those opportunities for recycling that some of the garbage haulers have made available across the island. Of course, with the Ministry of Romy, I would like to see it within the next years become more mandatory that each garbage hauler has different bins so that we can actually move towards that. And I must commend those supermarkets who have already started decreasing their plastic and now offer only paper bags or reusable bags. So as a community, the law has been passed. We're working out the logistics to be able to execute the law. But as St. Martin people, we can start taking the steps in our individual lives to reduce our waste and to reduce what is going to the landfill, the toxic material that is going to the landfill. I hope to have answered your question.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. Lyndon Brown, you have the final question.
The final question between the Minister of Romy and the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, recently, there was a press release from the CFT, and they emphasized financial management. And also, they was emphasizing the staff. Instead of having so much government workers, you can use digital. I had the report from them, and also getting funds from the landowners. Is that statement from the CFT spark and where you tag into the Minister of Romy that if person do not do the right thing, possibility can exist where government can take back the land? Can you comment?
Thank you for your question, Linda Brown. It was a multi-part question, I believe. I'm trying to fully understand which article you're referring to from the CFT. I haven't read a recent article. I haven't seen that article that you're referring to, but I know in regards to financial management and going digital, first I'll clarify the point about staff. And right now in government, we actually lack staff in key areas. If you see, we've had ads out for a few times within the last year for key positions that we can't seem to get filled. At times with the right or qualified person, or even we have little submissions to vacancies. So in regards to staffing, actually we are looking for key staff. So if you know anyone, you can look at the government page and see a list of current vacancies there. In regards to financial management, yes, the Ministry of Finance is working on their financial management, also working with the TWO and the point of the Lands Packet. That's part of one of the discussions inside there. We are progressing well with that, and I actually look forward to this because that's also in line with my own goals and visions and the goals of this government to have a better streamlined financial management system. In regards to the RFPAC and so forth, I must say since the conversations of this, we've had more individuals come forward to say, hey, you know, I haven't been paying and so forth. So again, I welcome these conversations. I think these are important conversations to have. I've even had individuals that came to me and say, hey, you know, I didn't realize that my family member that had this down for such a long time was not paying their RFPAC, and I would like to start that payment arrangement and so forth. So I realized that not having these discussions is actually detrimental to individuals because they just don't have the knowledge of knowing when and how to do the right thing. So I think that answered all of your questions in regards to CFT and so forth.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Minister Duran.
Thank you, Rolika. Thank you for the question, Mr. Brown. Just to add a bit on what the Minister of Finance mentioned, it is not our intentions as a government to take back land from anyone. We are simply trying to seek ways to engage with those individuals that basically we have not been able to communicate with for the last several years that are not forthcoming with payments. And more specifically, we started with all the commercials, all the businesses that have RFPAC and are operating and are not complying with their payments. So I hope that is clear. You know, bad news sells better than good news. But I just want to emphasize the fact that it is not our mission to go and take back land or anything like that. The sole purpose of this is to get persons to comply with their deed, which is basically the agreement between government and those in the third parties to comply with what is written. You have to pay your FPAC every year. You have to comply with all the different points. That is simply the objective of this mission, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Minister Edion.
In addition to what the minister just said, I believe what we are doing is actually protecting individuals from the organization taking back the land. So the Minister of Rumi, Minister Egbert Duran, and myself, we don't go after individuals looking to take back their land. The organization works. The organization does what they have to do, right? So if an individual or company does not even know that, hey, I have this outstanding, right? And the organization does their job and eventually says, hey, you have this bill, you have this amount of time to pay and so forth, then you put more of a stress on entities and individuals. So the process that we are following right now is updating individuals. I've had, like I mentioned before, a family already come in, multiple actually, in regards to making payment arrangements and so forth, and thanking us for updating them. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Prime Minister Jacobs.
Yes, thank you. I'm not chiming in on the topic, even though I believe it's been talked about. And as the minister has mentioned, they will be in Parliament tomorrow to have further discussions on this. What I can say, though, is that as a government, we are, when we took office in one of the most challenging times. We are still in challenging times. We are functioning with a financial deficit. We are reliant upon loans, which in the long run can hamper our ability to borrow for actual material that we need to develop the country. And so as a government, some of the country package requirements also are talking about reforms where you can have more compliance, and this compliance has to be across the board. So I think there shouldn't be any misunderstanding as to the intention of government. It is for us to be more responsible for our own selves, ensuring that we have the necessary income to do so, and compliance across the board throughout the Ministry of Finance is being sought in many, many areas. The Going Digital will assist with that. And of course, Going Digital also with what is owed out there for the different areas. I think every week we talk about what opportunities are there for income generation. So it is, of course, not the intention to go after anyone, but to ensure that we are being consequent and accountable for the funds that we receive, and to ensure also that we have funds to be able to live up to the obligations we have to those that rely upon government for their survival. I also want to take this time, with your indulgence, Rolika, seeing the time, to recognize yesterday as International Dementia Day and wish all those families dealing with persons who are going through this much strength, and awareness should be there for that. I know there's quite some going out about Alzheimer's, especially, that families are coming forth with the realities of what they're dealing with, and as a government, we can 100% support that as well. Thank you, and until next time.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Members of the media, viewing and listening public, this brings us to the end of the question and answer session. Members of the media, any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. For a rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's official YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.